Welcome back, everybody, to the Locks DFS NFL breakdown video going through my top cash locks of the week. I am Christian Hardy at BuyHardy on Twitter, from LocksDFS.com, at LocksDFS on Twitter. Be sure to check us out there, follow us there. Really excited to get into the slate. I know I've said it in my last two videos talking about the cash game plays. This week has a ton of options, really, at every single level, at every position, genuinely every position at the top, middle, and bottom. And we're going to go through some of my favorite ones on the slate. And I'm going to try to run through, with so many plays, I'm not exactly sure for, who I'm locking in yet. There are a few guys that I'm almost positive, and I'll note those guys as we go through. But before we get into it, be sure to like and comment on this video. You have a chance to win a free season pass. With that said, we give away that free season pass every week. Weekly, we go through the comments. We pick someone who we've been seeing leaving good comments, and we pick them out. This week going to be Young-ish. He has been commenting on a lot of our videos with good feedback, as well as talking about some of the stuff that his strategy and stuff like that on these single game slates. We really appreciate that. So be sure to leave that comment and like, and you have a chance to win that pass. And Young-ish, hit us up in the DM. I'm sure you're watching this video, and we will set you up before that Sunday slate, get you in the Slack and all that good stuff. And if you're not already a member of Locks DFS, be sure to check us out, LocksDFS.com. We do have monthly passes for NFL. We also have monthly passes for all sports, which will include college football in that, which is going to have, lock sheets for college football as well as my full written breakdowns. But in terms of NFL, you're going to be getting our lock sheets, but you see our analysis on Thursday for the showdown slates. We do a full written analysis for not only Thursday, but then we have Sunday and Monday as well as the lock sheets, which are with our cash locks on those as well, and the Sunday morning live stream and the breakdowns. There's a little bit more on there as well, so be sure to check us out at locksdfs.com. And with that said, let's go ahead and start out with the quarterbacks. We got Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, who are going to be in the highest total of the week, and both are definitely going to be in play in cash games. I think there are going to be some ownership going to some other quarterbacks, maybe a little bit on Dak in that great matchup. You've got guys down here cheaper. I'm going to mention one of those guys, but Mahomes and Jackson are definitely going to be some great cash plays. Of course, Mahomes is going to be facing up against a pretty good defense, but he has not shown any propensity to slow down this year from his stats last year. He is just rolling. We haven't seen his rushing upside yet at all, and that's obviously going to possibly come into play at some point in this season. And Baltimore just got tore up by Kyler Murray last week for over 300 yards, so no concern about Mahomes here. Definitely feel free to roll him out. Lamar Jackson is another guy. Of course, we saw him rush for 120 yards after passing for 320 in the week before. He's a guy who has more rushing upside than Mahomes, absolutely, and is going to continue to get a decent amount of rushes pretty much every game. Of course, he didn't really have to do it against Miami, but I think we might not get 16 for 120, but we're all going to be looking at probably something like 10 to 12 rushes a week for Lamar Jackson. I think that's going to be pretty normal to see out of him. So, that's obviously what you're getting. You're getting another pace-up spot for Lamar Jackson, who's already been in 2 of those games. I see no reason why both these guys can't put up 30-point games in this matchup. Highest total on the game. Should be pretty competitive. One guy I think that you can be looking at to get a little bit of discount, and, those guys are going to be, you can definitely get to those guys. There's going to be a lot of value plays, especially a wide receiver, and there are a few running backs who have opened up as well. But Kyler Murray is someone who is definitely very, very interesting to me. In this matchup against Carolina, who has run at the fastest or second fastest. I can't remember who was first and second, but these two teams are the 2 fastest in pace this season so far, just in seconds per play, Cardinals running over 50% of their plays from the no huddle, so of course we know that they are going to run very, very fast. We saw Murray feel very comfortable against Baltimore. He's only thrown 1 interception so far this year. He looks very, very good. Cliff Kingsbury is calling a great offense for him. Panthers also running at a quick rate, at a quick pace, even without Cam Newton. I think they're going to continue to run a decent amount of their snaps from the no huddle. I see no reason why Murray can't continue to throw the ball, what he's been throwing here, especially because the Panthers do again have a pretty good run defense. And if the Cardinals are going to attack this Panthers defense, I think it's going to be through Kyler Murray and the passing. So he is going to be my guy against this Panthers zone defense, where he has also succeeded against zone defenses as well. So there's a lot going for him here. There are some other cheap quarterback options. Addy's going to talk about one of them in his videos tomorrow. He's already talked to me about him, and you guys will hear from him in that. But let's go ahead and move on to the running backs now, where, again, all 3 of these guys at the top are very good players. I'm not going to get into them. I'll talk about them on the lock sheet. The guy I'm going to talk about for the video's sake is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Of course, he had a very, very weak Week 2 performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We saw pretty much his worst career rushing game that he's ever had. But, I mean, he is an absolutely elite play this week against Arizona. The Cardinals have allowed almost 300 yards on the ground in their first 2 games. And don't see that stopping here with Christian McCaffrey. I think the Panthers are going to want to feed the ball to sorry, I'm watching college football on the side here. It really got me distracted. Panthers are going to run the ball here with Kyle Allen under center. There's no question about that. We have Cam Newton ruled out. I think they're definitely going to want to get the ball to their number 1 running back, one of the best running backs in the league, a guy who plays 100% of the snaps pretty much. Of course, we just talked about with Kyler Murray, this game is going to run at one of the best paces that we're going to see. Possibly all season, this game is going to run at one of the fastest paces, assuming that the Panthers still stay up pace with Kyle Allen under center. Panthers should get a ton of plays off. Obviously, McCaffrey's going to be on the field for all of those. And I think I don't know if there is a ton of, quote, math behind this, but I do think that when you go to a backup quarterback, they're more likely to just dump it off to, tight ends, running backs, those short ADAT targets, especially in these guys who are making their first, Allen has made a few starts before, but guys who might not feel very comfortable, we could see them use a lot of dump offs. And regardless, McCaffrey's going to be very involved in the passing game regardless, even if he doesn't show propensity to go to McCaffrey more than usual. So let's go ahead and go after that. Of course, like I said, there are other guys here. I mean, Zeke and Barkley. I'm going to be allocating some funds. Probably going to be trying to get one of them with McCaffrey. I can definitely see going that way. But there are 2 cheap running backs I want to touch on real quick. LaShawn McCoy, he is questionable, but he did practice on Friday. I totally expect him to play in this game. Should be good to go. Damian Williams has been ruled out. He has been splitting carries with McCoy this far. But it looks like McCoy will be the running back 1 in this offense for now with Damian sitting out. He could give some way to Darwin Thompson, the rookie, but I think McCoy is going to be the guy who gets most of the touches here. I'm projecting something like 15 to 17 touches. I think that seems very reasonable. He does, he's also probably going to get a little bit of a workload in the pass game. And just keep in mind, this is the highest. I don't know if it's the highest team total on the slate because of the Patriots and the Cowboys, but it's absolutely going to be a pace up game, pace up spot where competitive spot, high total on the slate, and they're a touchdown favorite at home. So there's a lot going for McCoy here. Obviously, getting a piece of the Chiefs offense is great, and getting him at the running back 1 at 5K is definitely worth looking at. I will say there is a little bit of concern here for McCoy. Not only is the concern, I don't think he's going to be a bell cow running back 1. I do think that he is, I think he's going to be 1, chalky, so there's going to be leverage against him. 2, he's facing a very, very good Ravens run defense. They have faced very bad rushing teams in the Cardinals and the Dolphins who don't have very good offensive lines. And that has probably boosted their stats. But as of now, they are giving up the least amount of adjusted line yards to running backs so far this year. And that's not going to play out very well for McCoy, especially against the offensive line that has been bottom 5 so far in adjusted line yards. So there is some merit to fading McCoy here. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it in cash because I do think he's going to be very, very owned. I think it's paying $5K for the Chiefs running back in that, the highest total on the slate definitely makes a lot of sense. So he's going to be tough to fade, but I do think there is some merit here. If he isn't able to get going, they could just turn it to Mahomes, let him do his thing. So, some concern there with McCoy, but definitely a very, very solid cash player, or else I wouldn't be talking about him right now. Frank Gore is another running back. I'm getting to a lot of plays in this. It might be a longer video than usual because there are a lot of plays. Frank Gore has opened up as a very, very good value. Devin Singletary, you can see him right there. He is out. I believe he has a hamstring injury, I think. So we got Frank Gore going to be the running back 1 in this game, coming up against a very, very bad Cincinnati team. Frank Gore, another situation like LaShawn McCoy, big favorite at home, almost touchdown favorite against the Cincinnati Bengals. Last week, we saw him get 21 touches, 2 of those being receiving on 61% of the snaps. And, this is even better matchup than he was getting last week against the Giants. I mean, they're both very, very good matchup for a running back. But Gore has a matchup against Cincy giving up over 5.4 adjusted line yards, and giving up. They're ranked as the 34th in rushing DVOA this season. That was a mouthful. Sorry about that. You can check out those stats at footballoutsiders.com. That's where I get the adjusted line yards. The DVOA is that's footballoutsiders.com. Frank Gore, again, 4.4K getting those snaps. It's just a very, very cheap situation here for a team that is at home. I don't see why he wouldn't continue to get 60 to 70% of the snaps in this game. There are some guys behind him. Yeldon might get some snaps as well, but I think that Gore is going to be the guy who's going to lead the backfield in this game. I don't see why he wouldn't. And so 4.4K going to be someone who should end up being pretty chalky on this slate, and that is one reason why I said I was going to allocate a lot of funds to the running backs. But if I end up on a build with McCoy and Gore, I'm going to end up having a lot of money to spend on these wide receivers, which let's get into them right now. First guy I want to talk about. First of all, I do like this Julio Jones price. I want to make that very clear. He is 7.3K playing indoors. We know how well he plays indoors. This is college football game. So it's 7.3K. I believe I saw Adam Levitan tweet something about it. This is the cheapest he's been in like 2 years, something like that. Maybe even longer than that. Maybe even like 2015. I mean, this is a decent spot for him. Gonna move on from him. I feel like I'm running very long here. So Keenan Allen, another guy I want to talk about up at the top here, 7K. This is just too cheap for a guy who's going to be getting pretty consistently 12 targets a game. I don't see why that would change. He leads the league in weighted opportunity rating. He leads the league in air yards on 329 air yards on the season. That is only in 2 games. 329 air yards in 2 games for Keenan Allen. The dude is getting the ball thrown to him a ton. He's getting a ton of opportunity. Mike Williams is still banged up. Hunter Henry is still out. Allen is just going to continue to eat in this, and obviously going to be facing up against Roby here for the Texans, who just moved into the slot. It doesn't look very comfortable in the slot. We've seen the Texans get burned a little bit in the slot, so I don't see why Keenan Allen can't have an awesome game here. He is my favorite high-priced wide receiver up here, I believe, on the slate. Another guy that I think is a little bit underpriced is going to be Mike Evans. Obviously, Chris Godwin has had the full breakout effect, and Evans is kind of feeling the effects of that, with Godwin just completely breaking out. But this is just too cheap for Mike Evans, who still saw 8 targets last week. Evans, like I said, is just a depressed price. Evans comes in as the 4th in the air yards by low model from Josh Hermsmeyer. Gets a dream matchup against New York's terrible defense here. I mean, we could talk all day about New York's defense. Addie's going to do a little bit more of that tomorrow. Giants defense is definitely just one that you can exploit in every single way. So I love Evans here. That is definitely someone that I will be looking at as well. Then you're going to be going down here to the cheaper guys, and someone in the mid-range I think will be very chalky, and someone that you can stack with Kyler Murray if you decided to ride my take with the quarterback 1 being Kyler Murray, or quarterback 1. The quarterback I talked about in cash being Kyler Murray. Could be Larry Fitzgerald. Dude has 24 targets through 2 weeks. He has the 6th most air yards in the league through the 2 weeks. He is an absolutely great play here against Carolina, who have been decimated. I mean, just completely clobbered by slot receivers so far this year. Panthers don't have they have some strong boundary corners, but they're not going to be able to defend you very well in that slot, and that is where Fitzgerald's going to run his routes. Again, a great stack with Murray, and I think that he is just far too cheap for getting the target share. You just talked about Keenan Allen getting 12 targets a week and being too cheap at 7K. Now we're looking at Larry Fitzgerald here in a crazy pace-up game, 5.1K. He's averaging 12 targets a week. It's just too cheap. It's just way too cheap. Of course, Christian Kirk is also in play here, but I just prefer the safe target share of Larry Fitzgerald. Doesn't mean Kirk. I mean, with how much the Cardinals are throwing the ball, and also how much they are, or how fast they're running the pace, they're going to get a lot of snaps off, and that's going to allow for you to be able to double stack with Murray, Kirk, and Fitzgerald. But I do think that I prefer Fitzgerald in cash games, and Kirk is a little bit more of a GBP slanted play just because his ownership will be lower. Yeah, cool. That gets us to 2 receivers, and there's one guy that I think kind of like a Tyrell play. I think everyone is going to end up playing this week. Why can I not find him? He's going to be Nelson Aguilar for the Philadelphia Eagles. We saw him bust out on Sunday night last week after we saw some injuries to Deshaun Jackson, some injuries to Alshon Jeffrey. Saw him get 11 targets. He played almost all the snaps in that game, and runs almost all of his routes in the snaps, which we know is more conducive to fantasy production in general. We also know the Lions cannot defend the slot cornerback at all this year. If you pull up their stats against slot cornerbacks, it's not great. So really like the spot for Aguilar this week. He looked very comfortable with Wentz last week, and I think he's basically a stone lock at this 3.6 price tag. Then you've also got, it's kind of a similar situation where you can just pay down a little bit and get a little bit of leverage on the field because Aguilar is going to be so high owned. I think Arcega-Whiteside makes sense. A little bit of a GBP play. Guy who played 93% of the snaps last week is very disappointing, but he was very good in college. He was their 2nd round pick. I think this is a game where he could definitely have a bust out game. The only thing I'm concerned about is Wentz having that rapport with him. It didn't look like he had a great rapport last week, but maybe they can get it going this week. And like I said, it's mostly his GBP play because Aguilar is the clear top wide receiver in this offense. Right now with the injuries. So going to prefer Aguilar here, and he is going to be a guy that I'm basically locking in cash games. So Moving on to tight ends. There are, again, a lot of tight ends because you can play Travis Kelce at the top. The guy that I'm going to be talking about, though, is going to be Zach Ertz. He is 5.7K, and I consider him kind of a mid-range guy, of course. We know Ertz last year was like a target monster. I mean, I'm sure he was up there in the league of leaders in targets last year. He ended up with 16 targets last week after we saw those wide receivers go out. Even when I was watching the game, it was just nuts to see how much they were just throwing. They were just, even when anytime he was in trouble, he would just find Ertz, and anytime Wentz was in trouble, he'd just find Ertz and throw it to Ertz. He has a good chance to be the most popular tight end this week, I think, at 5.7K, although there are a lot of cheap options. I think maybe the ownership could get spread out because of those cheap options. Obviously, Ertz has a massive target share. Detroit is not very good against tight ends. Ertz leads all tight ends in air yards and opportunity rating. He should be in play in pretty much all formats, especially GPPs at this price. Definitely don't go getting off him in GPPs or anything like that. And there are a ton of cheap tight ends. The guy that we have the questionable tag next to him right now. And, he did look a little bit sluggish last week, although he did have 9 targets for 110 yards, is Greg Olsen, 3.7K. Again, there are a ton of cheap tight ends, and all of them come with a little bit of risk. Hawkinson didn't have a great game last week, but they are in a pass-first game. We have O.J. Howard, who knows what his role in this offense is right now. He's been really struggling with a lot of things on the offense. And then you have, Mark Andrews up here, 4.6. There's just so many options. But let me finish talking about Greg Olsen, of course. 30 air yards and tight ends. This is a smash spot in terms of the pace up. Like I said with Kyle Allen, I think that we're going to see him target his tight ends and his running backs a decent amount because, he's Kyle Allen. He might not feel super comfortable going deep to his wide receivers. We've seen tight ends so far just completely crush these Arizona Cardinals. It's been Mark Andrews and T.J. Hawkinson, which are two tight ends who have a lot of hype coming into the season, but still 14 for 243 with 2 touchdowns in just 2 games between those two. So I think Greg Olsen, again, as long as we don't hear anything bad about the back, we saw if you saw in that blurb right there, they anticipate him playing in this game. He's going to benefit from the pace up. Really like Greg Olsen as my favorite cheap tight end this week. Just a guy who I feel very safe with, just like with AGHOLOR. So. And with AGHOLOR and with GORE and with McCoy, you have money to get basically whoever you want this week, and that's why I was kind of wanting to mention. I like Kyler Murray on a normal week, but with just so much value on this slate, I could definitely see just paying up for Mahomes or Jackson. But don't want to give away too much. Be sure to subscribe at LocksDFS.com. That is going to wrap it up for me, Christian Hardy, at ByHardy on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video didn't run too long. I know I kind of droned on about it, or I don't know if that's the correct word, but kind of just kept talking about a few of these guys. But there are so many plays this week, so good luck to you guys this week. I hope you guys pick the right guys. Make sure to leave a comment. Be sure to subscribe. You have a chance to win that free season pass from Locks DFS. We'll be giving that out next week. And with all that said, we will see you guys next time. Peace.